Relive tomorrow's memories today, right here on NBC.
Tonight on NBC, it's primetime action as Bob Horner brings his explosive home run bat into the Big Apple when his Atlanta Braves prepare to do battle with the front-running New York Mets at Shea Stadium. Or some of you will see the interdivisional matchup as the Chicago Cubs travel west to Chavez Ravine to take on Steve Sachs and the Los Angeles Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. But first, NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball, an inside look. Brought to you by the new Valvoline 4Guard, the motor oil for today's harder-working four-cylinder engine. And by the Century 21 Real Estate Organization. Put number one to work for you. A crowd of 40,000 expected here at Shea Stadium in New York on a rain-threatening, humid night. And we welcome you as NBC Baseball goes prime time. Hi, everybody. I'm Marv Albert. Many of you will be seeing the Mets go up against the Braves here at Shea with all-star left-hander Sid Fernandez going against David Palmer. And some of you will see the Cubs and the Dodgers in Los Angeles. And in this, a 25th anniversary year for the Mets, Davy Johnson's ball club well out in front. They've had a splendid season, 10.5 games in front of the second-place Montreal Expos. But it wasn't always like this. 25 years ago, when this ball club first took the field in the New York area.
It all began in 1962 as Casey Stengel directed the New York Mets from the Polo Ground. It led to 1969, Tom Seaver and the Impossible Dream. And then in 73, it was Tug McGraw and You Gotta Believe. And now it's 1986, and the big kid from Hawaii, Sid Fernandez, showing them the way, on their way to a divisional championship.
The National Broadcasting Company, now in its 6th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's majesty. And baseball's magical moments. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week. From Shea Stadium, it's the Atlanta Braves versus the New York Mets. Tonight's game is brought to you by Miller Lite. For great taste, there is only one light beer. By Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Wendy's. Come celebrate new crispy chicken nuggets at Wendy's. And by United States Liberty Coins. Keep Liberty in mint condition with United States Liberty Coins.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully along with Joe Garagiola, and once again, it's East versus West, and what a difference.
Well, one of them has got the nice fat lead. The other one's trying to play catch-up. We get to see Sid Fernandez, and he's been, I would say, probably the biggest surprise in baseball.
For the New York Mets, they come into this game 10.5 games in front of Montreal. They've already won 56 games at the halfway point. If you double that and get 112, that's more than the fabulous Cleveland Indians of 1954.
And they have a good chance of doing just that. That's a pretty good ball club, and Davey really maneuvers his ball club.
The Atlanta Braves are a constantly changing and improving ball club, and here's the way they stack up tonight. Andres Thomas, the rookie, is at shortstop. Newly acquired Ken Griffey hits second, and he'll be in left field. The Iron Man, who had that streak snap at 740, Dale Murphy in center. Bob Horner, fresh from hitting 4 home runs in a game against Montreal, will be at first base. Then you have Terry Harper, who moves over to right field. Rafael Ramirez, who has been the shortstop, moves to third base. Ozzie Virgil behind the plate. Ken Obergfell moves from third base to second base. Glenn Hubbard is not playing these days, and David Palmer is the pitcher. Palmer with a record of 5-7, No record against the Mets this year. 6-2 lifetime.
Defensively, George Foster's in left field, and Lenny Dykstra will be playing center field tonight, and he roams that center field well. Strawberry's in right field. Ray Knight, who's just taken over third base with his play. Kevin Mitchell is at shortstop, and one of the reasons he's at shortstop is that Sid Fernandez, if he's got his good stuff, will get a lot of fly balls, which of course limits the chances for Mitchell. And Davey Johnson wants to get Mitchell in the lineup to get him adjusted to the big leagues. Wally Backman at second base, Keith Hernandez in his Gold Glove at first, Gary Carter's behind the plate, and Sid Fernandez on the mound.
In 1986, certainly it will be known as a big year for all of the New York Mets, and particularly for the big kid from Hawaii. Sid Fernandez with a record of 11-2, no record against Atlanta, 1-0 lifetime. He has won 6 straight. He has won 7 of his last 8. He's on the All-Star squad, and as he was saying, he's the biggest thing in Hawaii since Jack Lord. Well, he wears that number 50, commemorating the fact that Hawaii is our 50th state, and he has really come of age.
Yes, he has, Ben, and when they talk about him, the thing that impresses you about Fernandez is his ability to throw that fastball high and still get a lot of outs. That's what I'm referring to when I talk about the fly balls. In fact, Tanner says that Fernandez throws the fastball uphill and throws his curveball like Niagara Falls. And I said, but he gives you a kind of a comfortable collar. He says, no, he doesn't. He really works at it and makes you work hard. So we're looking at Sid Fernandez, who, as you say, all-star. And when I said to him, who's the first person you call when you found out you're on a team? Real sheepish look. He said, my mother.
Oh, sure. Sid Fernandez, to give you another insight into how good he has become, he had 21 consecutive starts starting last year and this year where he did not allow more than 6 hits in a game. The last time when he allowed 9 hits broke that string. But look at that. That was last year. He also led it last year, and he had 9 strikeouts a game, and he's right back on the beam this year with 5 hits per 9 innings. So Sid Fernandez. We'll see what he does tonight against Andres Thomas, Ken Griffey, and then Dale Murphy.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, leading off.
Andres Thomas, who figures to move Ramirez, has finally done it, at least for now. And Ramirez has become the third baseman. Thomas has hit in 5 of his last 6. So Fernandez ready to go to work. The Braves in 4th place, trailing by 4 games. Fastball. The Mets, of course, in 1st place, leading by 10½. 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Foul ball off first base and out of play, and the count 1-2. When you watch Sid Fernandez, you realize that as he delivers to the plate, he bends almost in half. In fact, he got down as low as any pitcher I have ever seen pitch, and we can illustrate that with a point. Fastball high. When he was still with the Dodgers in Vero Beach in batting practice, he would pitch with a net in front of him. Twice he hit the top of the net with the pitch. That's how far down he gets. Little fly ball, back of first, slicing down the line, Strawberry.
Coming to the plate, left fielder, number 22, Ken Griffey.
Here is Fernandez going into that motion now. As Vin just mentioned, watch how he bends into it. When he takes that stride, right there, look how low he gets.
He has not changed any as far as how low. The difference is the height of the arm. Mel Stottlemyre has gotten him to raise his arm a bit. He still, every now and then, like all, will fall back to an old habit. But here's Ken Griffey. Griffey, with his days with the Yankees and the new days with Atlanta, had a 19-game hitting streak, and he had that snap last night. 2 balls and no strikes. Ball 3. The Braves hoping that Ken Griffey can give them a degree of consistency. Chuck Tanner has really been on a roller coaster of late. There's ball 4. The Braves lost 6 out of 8, turned around to win 7 out of 8, and they've turned back around and lost 6 out of 7. That's pretty tough on the manager's constitution. Here is Dale Murphy, who had his consecutive game streak snapped at 740. The gag on the Braves team now is the Iron Man is Oberkfell. He's played like 29 straight.
It's interesting that Murphy sat down with his manager and they talked about it.
Ball 1, 1-0. Murphy has given the Mets a bad time. He's hitting .412 against them, and he went 3 for 3 against Bobby Ojeda last night. And they are waiting for him to erupt, as he figures to do before the end of the year. Change. Ball 2, 2-0.
He's kind of groping right now after pitching so well that Thomas. Carter behind the plate has tried everything. He's used the whole Fernandez repertoire, but he hasn't been able to find that strike. It's a danger pitch right here, 2-0.
Fernandez has walked as many as 7 in a game. He'll do that. He'll get a little on the wild side for sure. Shea Stadium. The flag hanging limply in center field. And what that means is the airplane's taking off from LaGuardia, going right over the top of the ballpark. Ball 3. So Fernandez off to a wobbly start.
And Murphy, the big power hitter, he does take a glance down at third base at Nixon, but if you were pitching against him right now, you got to believe he's got the hit sign as Tanner wants to jump out to a quick lead.
14 home runs, 36 runs batted in. And he looked at a fastball. Three and 1 to Dale Murphy. There goes the runner, Griffey, and the pitch is fouled away off to the right. Carter coming over to see if he has a play, but it's way back in the lower deck.
He didn't see that ball. He's talking to the plate umpire right now. He lost that ball. If that had been in fair territory, he doesn't make that play. He did not see it. You can see him shaking his head. He looked up, saw the lights, and then he was kind of really groping.
You know, there's a problem here about seeing anything at all, Joe.
Look here. Now watch. Look, right there. He's lost it. He doesn't know where it is. Now watch the look on his face. I mean, he could be at Disneyland right now.
A lot of the lights are not working. The light towers in left and right are out, and there are strings of lights atop the roof that are out. It's tough to see anything. There goes Griffey, and it is a strike. The throw down. He's in there. So Griffey steals second. We have 2 out.
Looked like Carter had a good ball to handle, seemed to do everything right except get his man, and wasn't a whole lot on that throw.
And the tag was late and high. It was up above the kneecap, so the foot was in there in plenty of time.
Griffey may have lost a half step as you saw him look back to see what happened to Murphy at the plate. It was a run and hit play, and when Murphy was called out on strikes, Griffey tried to find out what was going on.
Well, now here is Bob Horner, and of course fresh from a 4 home run game against Montreal, and takes a strike. There's an idea of why we're all going to have a little trouble tonight. Both towers are pretty much out, and there are strings of pearls that are out as well atop the stadium. Fouled away, 0-2.
Every time I hear somebody talk about a compact swing, this is the guy I think of. He could hit, I think, in a telephone booth and not hit either side.
Well, you know what's amazing? When he hit the 4 home runs against Montreal, the first home run that he hit, he broke his bat.
You're kidding.
Yeah, because when the Hall of Fame wanted his bats, one of them was broken. But he doesn't care. He reaches in and takes any old bat in the pile that has his name on it. Off speed, just missed. His first hit of the year was a broken bat single against the Dodgers. His next hit was a home run with a black bat the third time up, you'd think he'd use the black bat. He just used a white bat. He said, oh, they're all the same to me. 1-2. Slow breaking ball, but it's downstairs. 2-2 the count.
I can remember a player coming up to hit one time, and the bat was checked, and I said, that bat's broken. He said, if you can hit, you can use a wagon tongue. And he's right. A good hitter could hit 280 with a ballpoint.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Horner. Oh, that rising fastball got him. That looked like a strike, and by the time Horner... Here's the way the Mets will go against David Palmer. Lenny Dykstra in center field and Wally Backman at second. Keith Hernandez at first. Gary Carter behind the plate. Darryl Strawberry in right. George Foster in left. Ray Knight at third. Kevin Mitchell the shortstop. Sid Fernandez the pitcher.
Griffey, Murphy, and Harper are the outfield. Murphy, what a center fielder. Ramirez at third. Thomas at short. Oberkfell second. Horner's at first base. Ozzie Virgil, and with Dykstra up there, both Dykstra and Backman, they really like to bunt that ball. And with Horner at first and Oberkfell at second, he'll try to drag that ball past Palmer if he's got any ideas about bunting.
So Len Dykstra starting it off, and he's been a hot hitter, hitting over 400 the last month. He really moved up in the box on that pitch.
He's done that 3 different times. He did it once on our game, and Ramirez comes in where he fakes the bunt and then slaps it past the third baseman. We saw him do it to Davey Lopes, and Ramirez is really challenging him.
1 ball, no strikes. Breaking ball for ball 2, 2-0. Dykstra now a 300 hitter. Look at those numbers. 2 balls and no strikes to count to Lenny. In there. The Mets are the only team in the major leagues not to have been shut out. They're up against David Palmer, who is 5-7. No record against New York this year. 6-2 lifetime against the Mets. Fouled away. 2-2. David Palmer, a brilliant young pitcher coming up out of the Montreal organization, and had all kinds of problems. He had arm surgery in '82, which I guess could be called the Tommy John surgery, done by Dr. Frank Jobe. He also had a bad shoulder, but he is fighting his way back. The Braves picked him up as a free agent. Fouled away.
He gives you a lot of motion on the mound. His off-speed pitch really makes his fastball much better, and he'll run that ball in on a right-hand hitter. He's not afraid to come inside, but that motion is a big factor with him, and he does a good job in holding men on.
2 balls and 2 strikes to the leadoff man, Len Dykstra. Breaking ball, ball 3. For Palmer, in April of '84, he retired 15 batters in a row pitching against the Cardinals. Rain curtailed it to a 5-inning perfecto. And of course, for a little while, he had a teammate who had a perfect game, Len Barkley. There's ball 4, so look out now. Dykstra, who's getting on base a little bit better than 4 out of every 10 at-bats for Davy Johnson, and Davy sees him do it again.
They really have a combination going now, because this is a fella in the batter's box who can break up that infield. And much like Dykstra, he can drag that ball past the pitcher, and he can make it look like a fire drill in a hurry.
Wally Backman, the batter. So Backman with Dykstra held on by Bob Horner. Bottom of the first inning, no score. I don't know whether it's the fact that they pitch half the time in the launching pad, as they call Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. But Atlanta pitching, you can spot the sore point immediately with that staff. It leads the National League in walks, and I think they're probably overly cautious because of playing in a park that sees so many home runs. The bunt wide of first to Horner, and Backman is safe. Seen a manufactured base hit. Watch this slide.
never got him.
So two little men doing a very big job. Lenny Dykstra draws the walk. Wally Backman a drag bunt single. And now the big guys come up. Hernandez, Carter, and Strawberry. Hernandez with 8 home runs and 36 RBIs. So he's particularly tough now that the table has been set for him. And of course, Gary Carter, who homered last night, is on deck. Fernandez hitting over 360 against the Braves this year. 0-1. So it all starts with the walk to Lenny Dykstra. That's 9 base hits for Wally Backman this year, bunting. 9. 2 on, nobody out. In the dirt, a nice save by Ozzie Virgil. Ball 2. The Mets were having a so-so homestand. Remember, they lost 3 straight to the Reds, first time they have been swept this year. The Mets have played 8 games on this homestand, and they have split them, winning last night from Atlanta. 2-0, the count to Keith Hernandez. Fastball got the corner. Davy Johnson came up with a very interesting remark a week or so ago. He said Whitey Herzog has helped the 1986 Mets because in 1985 he managed us right out of the ballpark and made our weaknesses so apparent. Ball 3. So because those weaknesses were apparent, Johnson went out and got a left-hand pitcher, Bobby Ojeda, and he also got a right-hand hitting second baseman, Tim Tuffle. Bachman is great hitting left-handed, but they really put the pressure on him when he was batting right-handed. Tuffle now takes over that chore. So Davey learned from Whitey, and now Davey's given Whitey a bad time. The Mets have beaten the Cardinals 7 straight without a loss at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The runners go, and there's a high chopper down to second. Obie's only play is to first for the out, and the runners move up 90 feet.
Once again, there's no substitute for speed. He stays away from the double play, and the little nits and nats just keep the infield broken up.
Well, here comes Gary Carter, who homered last night, and as you can see, he's right up there in the high rent district. Gary would probably win the most valuable player award right now amongst the Mets. They have all made their contributions, that's for sure. He received an intentional walk last night with first base open, however. We'll see if they throw him strikes. Darryl Strawberry on deck. Breaking ball, ball 1.
It's the classic example of the guy behind you really dictates the strategy that the opposition will use against you. Curveball, if he hits it, they're going to hit Atlanta's pitch. Now, he may hit it out of the ballpark, but they won't give in to him with first base open.
1 ball and no strikes. High drive into deep left field. Back goes Griffey. She is gone. You know what's interesting as we look at this swing again?
It looks like a high curveball. They were not going to give him the fastball, but that certainly was not where he wanted it. You can see Palmer's reaction. It was really just a bad curveball, a real room service high curveball.
You know, you were talking about not giving in with the guy on deck, Darryl Strawberry, and he is hit by the pitch, and look out. Here we go. Strawberry being tackled and kept away by Ozzie Virgil. And now it's every man for himself. What makes it so pointed. This year, Strawberry against David Palmer is hitting 111. 111.
That was an emotional knockdown.
Right.
That's what it was. If you want to hit a player, that's where you throw it, and he was delivering a message, but it was just a bit late.
So Strawberry hit by the first pitch following the 3-run home run by Gary Carter. Ozzie Virgil appeared to grab Strawberry as best he could. Keith Hernandez tried to tackle Palmer. Virgil checking his left hand. Well, there's Palmer, a little shaken up. Strawberry walking off right there. Now it's up to the umpires. Interestingly enough, this group of umpires, Jerry Crawford, Charlie Williams, Dana DeMuth, and Terry Tata, they were the umpires in the marathon game July the 4th last year between these two teams. That was a game that, because of 2 rainouts, it was a 19-inning game that actually lasted 8 hours and 15 minutes. The official playing time was 6 hours and 10 minutes. So these umpires have their hands full with the Mets and the Braves. Here's the pitch again. Right below the number, and he didn't hesitate. He went out after him. Palmer threw his glove at him, and then as he backs away, he is grabbed from behind by the plate umpire, Jerry Crawford.
That's how you get hurt, when somebody tries to pin you and somebody else is working out on your jaw.
So it was Jerry Crawford who was the first man to get his arms around Darryl Strawberry. Watch.
He gets hit, and he knows there was a message there, and Palmer's going to protect himself by throwing the glove at Strawberry. Now watch, Crawford grabs Palmer.
And Virgil's going to grab Strawberry.
Now, I think Bill Roberts, no, who is it? Hernandez comes around to get a shot at him. Oh, that's nice. When somebody's holding your arms, you can pop him. I mean, that's how you really get in trouble. But Crawford trying to break up the fight. Here's where he's defenseless now. This is where he's like an 8-pin at the bowling alley. Hernandez going right at him.
That's Davy Johnson. No, it's Rick Mailer with an arm around him.
I tell you, with the 3-run lead, you'd just like to say, guys, it's going to be a bad day for you. That is the Atlanta Braves, and let the sleeping dog lie. But all it's done now is just wake everybody up. You can understand Strawberry's emotions, but it's getting to where if somebody throws the ball inside, we got somebody charging the mound.
Tanner is now talking to Jerry Crawford. As of the moment, Strawberry is still standing at first base, and Palmer is on the mound, which means no player ejection.
He maybe wanted him to get some warm-up tosses.
He might also be wondering why Strawberry was allowed to stay in the game when he charged the mound and incited the riot, so to speak.
That's what he's arguing about.
Yeah.
I think you had it with the Dodgers where somebody charged the mound against the Dodgers, and Lasorda argued that point.
I know that's what you said, says Jerry Crawford. Well, he has placated Tanner for the moment. Chuck now going back to the dugout. So Strawberry, hit by the pitch, is allowed to stay at first. David Palmer, who threw the pitch, followed by the glove, is allowed to stay on the mound. And George Foster will be the batter.
It'll take George another 10 minutes to get ready after all this.
Oh, yes. Well, we're in the first inning. It's Mets 3, Braves nothing. Ray Knight on deck. Now Foster hits him. High fly ball into left center field. Murphy is going to make a play just on the warning track. And back to first goes Strawberry. where Strawberry was hitting only 111 against Palmer, Foster was hitting over 400 against Palmer and 3 home runs.
George just got under that ball a little bit, but you could see the guy who's been around the block like George saying, this guy's a little bit upset. He may try to throw that ball by me. I'm going to be ready for it. He was, but he got under that ball a little bit.
Where's Ray Knight? With 2 down, Strawberry at first, and the Mets leading 3-0. And there goes Strawberry. The pitch is strike. The throw down. He's in there.
He had a good jump. There's not much on that throw. Strawberry, stolen base, and Palmer's pretty good. His delivery is 1.35 is the midpoint for getting rid of that ball. He's always around that and should be tougher, but that particular time, Strawberry got a good jump.
0-1 to count, and Knight rolls one up along third base, fielded there by Rafael Ramirez to get him, and the somewhat stormy first inning is in the books. The Mets picked up 3 on a bunt and a home run. And David Palmer and Darryl Strawberry have some more words. And finally, Strawberry is restrained by Bud Harrelson. Ken Obergefell kind of lingered to make sure that his pitcher might have needed a bodyguard. And we finally get the first inning in the books. Ozzie Virgil mutters something to Chuck Tanner as he goes into the dugout. And this story hasn't been written yet. At the end of an inning, the Mets 3, the Braves nothing. And we're just starting. Normally, you could say that's the Atlanta battery. I guess tonight we'll call it assault and battery. David Palmer and Ozzie Virgil. Terry Harper, Rafael Ramirez, and Ozzie Virgil in that order. It was interesting. Nothing happened. The flare-up, both teams empty the benches and go after it. It stopped immediately, and then at the end of the inning, you could see there was still a little fire and smoke. And it could very well erupt again. It'd be the worst thing in the world that could happen, particularly for the Mets. I mean, here they are 10.5 games in front. They certainly don't want to get into a fight and lose a player due to some silly injury.
And that's the best way to get hurt, if there is such a thing.
Ball 2, 2-1.
Usually in a fight, if you're a catcher, the first thing you do is pull your mask down. Be sure it stays on. And then you go out and you look for the guy you think you can take out.
Your closest friend.
Yeah, and then you do a dance with him, and you might get stepped on.
2 balls, 1 strike. Fouled away. Terry Harper has been wearing out the Mets. He's hitting over 500 against New York, including a 4-for-4. And to hit over 500 against the Mets staff that features Gooden, Fernandez, Darling, and Ojeda. You're going up against some tough hombres. 2-2. All 3. In fact, it's interesting to look at Fernandez, Darling, and Ojeda. They've each lost 2, and Dwight Gooden has lost twice as many, 4. 3-2. Hit down the left field line, hooking in the corner, foul, and out of play. Harper's the kid who dislocated a shoulder waving a runner on, then hurt it again and had to have surgery. He was originally signed as a pitcher way back in 1973. Played a lot of left field, but now that Griffey has come, he's moved over to right. Fouled away. Chuck Tanner trying very quietly to just watch Al Monchak on the walkie-talkie. 3-2. Fouled away.
Tony Barterome is the man Monchak was talking to. Barterome was the trainer last year. He's one of the traveling coaches, and he's up in the press box and sets the defense.
Tony at one time, as Al is talking to him, Tony was the great one-handed first baseman for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I was on that club.
Yeah. He never caught anything but with one hand.
He'd only catch a cold on one side of his body.
Davy Johnson, of course, played for the Braves, had the biggest year of his life with Atlanta. Foul back. Davy Johnson, interestingly enough, the manager of the New York Mets, played against the Mets in the World Series in 1969 and then played for Atlanta in '73. He had 99 RBIs that year, hit 270. 3-2, the count to Terry Harper, Rafael Ramirez, and then Ozzie Virgil to follow. Shot up the middle, and Harper continues to wear out the Mets.
Number 16.
So with a runner at first, we'll take another look at Terry Harper.
That ball comes right back. Fernandez thought he might make the play on it. Watch him. He's in pretty good position. Out of his reach, and Mitchell gives it a good dive. I said to Dave before the game, Mitchell's just not built like the shortstop. He said, no, he's built more like a linebacker, isn't he? But I tell you, he's a tremendous athlete. He's played a lot of positions for these Mets.
Davey says his best position is probably third base, so we'll look for a year or two. That's where he'll probably settle in.
Well, the reason he plays him, it's a very good reason. He said, I wanted him to adjust to the big league life. I can't sit him on the bench and expect him to come off the bench like a veteran. He's just a kid, and I want him to play and get used to it. Then when he comes off the bench, he's not overawed by everything.
What a rookie. He started in 5 different positions this year. Looked like Rafael was trying to take him to right field. Instead, they count 1 ball and 1 strike. Ramirez, going up against Fernandez, has really struggled against the Mets. He's hitting less than $150 against New York. 1-1. Ball 2. On deck, Ozzie Virgil. And the Braves nothing. We're in the top of the 2nd inning. 3-run home run by Gary Carter in the 1st inning.
See Carter point to the man, say, give him a look.
2-1. Fouled away. 2-2.
You know, one of the things you do behind that plate is you're always looking to try to pick up things, but you're always in control and communications with your pitcher. And then, secondly, you're protecting that bare hand. Now, with nobody on, Gary puts it behind him. Now, watch what he does with it with the man on. He's got it in front of him, but behind that glove.
Harper has not been a successful base stealer at all. He's been caught 6 out of 8. So he might be a little gun shy, and each time Sid goes over there, it takes a little lead away from him. Ramirez, not a bad hit-and-run player, but he has 2 strikes on him now. Harper holding, and down he goes. That's the 3rd strikeout. Fernandez has had 10 strikeouts in a game twice this year, once before against Atlanta. The batter will be Ozzie Virgil. Virgil struggling all year with the bat, although he has, as you can see, homered in double figures. He has never had a hit against Sid Fernandez. And I bet they're both well aware of that.
Oh, you know that.
3-0 Mets, top of the 2nd, 1 away. Popped it up, and his record is still intact. Keith Hernandez is there. 2 down on the foul ball. And Ken Oberkfell will be coming up. Oberkfell is not only a good 300 hitter, and that's what he's hitting right now. Left-handers perhaps as good or even better than right-handers. So the fact a left-hander is going doesn't mean anything to Obi.
I saw the hitting chart on Oberkfell, and he hits left-handers mostly the opposite field.
Naturally, everybody here in the ballpark notices that David Palmer is on deck, and the first thought is this isn't the American League. You can't take a shot and then go and sit down in the dugout. You've got to go up there yourself, and that's all part of the game here. So Palmer will be coming up if Obi extends the inning.
And it'll be interesting to see because sometimes it'll come right from the top to say, hey, they threw at our star. We'll give them a message right back.
Well, would Palmer be the star, or would you wait until you got Dale Murphy?
No. Palmer would be, he'd be on the receiving end.
0-2.
The unwritten rule was always if he were going to retaliate, and this is the facts of life, you either got the first guy that came up, the pitcher or the catcher, whoever came up first, and then the star.
Well, Darryl Strawberry standing in right field is probably musing over, I wonder whether somebody's going to go down or not. 2 down, top of the second inning. Mets 3 and the Braves nothing. Terry Harper with a base hit, held on by Keith Hernandez. Well, we won't see David Palmer hitting in the second inning. 4 strikeouts for Sid Fernandez. And at the end of an inning and a half, Mets 3, Braves nothing. Bottom of the second inning, the Mets leading the Braves 3-0. We were wondering about the lights in the first inning when Gary Carter apparently lost a foul ball. But the New York Mets say, no, this is the normal lighting. Even though there are only a few of the lights on in the towers, that's the normal lighting for baseball. Well, I guess one thought one with the other. You saw Carter have trouble, and then you saw those lights out. Thought one contributed to the other, but that's not so. Kevin Mitchell, Sid Fernandez, and Len Dykstra. Ground ball to the hole, but that's where Andres Thomas plays him, throws him out. 1 away. We have a couple of scores for you. We can duck in as the evening begins to unfold. California leading Boston in the 4th. They had extra innings last night. Cleveland knocking off Texas. Toronto doing the same to Oakland. Baltimore, Chicago, 2-0 Baltimore. Yankees, Minnesota, scoreless in the second. Kansas City defeated Detroit 4-3, although Brett Saberhagen did not get the win. And Seattle, Milwaukee later on. Steve Parr picked up the victory in that one. Big swing by Sid, 0-1. Ground ball up the middle. Base hit. For Sid Fernandez, his 6th hit of the year.
He has a friendly bet with Vern Hochheit, the bullpen coach. And it's a dinner if he gets a hit, successful punt, scores a run, or drives in a run. And would you believe that Hochheit was 6 dinners ahead of him before that base hit?
It looks like the other way around when you look at Sid.
Yeah. Of course, Vern's got his own garden out there, so if he needs anything, he'll just go to the garden in the bullpen. He's growing zucchini, tomatoes, cabbages, everything.
Lenny Dykstra, as you can see, his stock is really on the rise, and he led the game off with a walk in the first inning. Fouled it back, 0-1.
It's one of those nice problems that a manager has. Davy Johnson says, I have to manipulate and move people. He said, I got Dykstra and Mookie Wilson. I have to get them both in the lineup. Second base, third base. Howard Johnson was supposed to platoon. Now Ray Knight is there. So he has to move people around.
Talking about moving people around, you see Sid Fernandez held on by Bob Horner at first in this inning. Would you believe that Sid has a stolen base? He got it against the Philadelphia Phillies in his second start of the year. 1 ball and 1 strike to count to Len Dykstra. 3-0 Mets in the second inning. Fouled away.
Davy Johnson was telling me about how young Sid Fernandez is. He said 1 out. I think Mitchell was up, and Davy said if he gets on base, bunt him over with 1 out. Mitchell hit a double. Davy said, I didn't tell him he's on second hit, so he was on second. He bunted him over.
Oh. Please don't eat the daisy.
That's right.
1-2. Fouled away again. There's something in the on-deck circle you never used to see, and now you see it all the time. And I think Keith Hernandez started it. Now, he shouldn't really be out there. I mean, by rule, 1 man in the on-deck circle would be Wally Backman. Instead, Hernandez is always in the on-deck circle. Now all the other clubs, since he gets away with it, they're doing it. And it looks like a town meeting sometimes.
He's in the on-deck area because he's a wanderer.
2-2.
This little guy really prepares himself before a game. He comes to the clubhouse, he gets a game plan set in his mind. He was looking at the charts. He was asking the coaches. Loves to play.
Breaking ball got him. So David Palmer breaks off a dandy to take care of Lenny Dykstra.
And that curveball comes as no surprise. He didn't hit it, but before the game, I just happened to be there, and he said, this guy's got a good overhand curveball, a good downer. I got to be careful of it. Now watch how disgusted he gets right there. He knows he was prepared for it, just didn't do it, and Palmer was a better pitcher, and he was a hitter that time at bat. And that's what the big leagues are all about.
Well, here's Wally Backman. Remember, he had that drag bunt single in the first inning. Ramirez about even with the bag at third. Horner off the bag at first. Ball one. 1-0. Meanwhile, Chuck Tanner making his notes. Behind him on the bench, Bob Skinner, Al Monchek alongside of him. He knows his pitcher, David Palmer, is due to lead off in the third inning. Ball 2-0.
That book we saw Tanner's just put away is his own, and he's got 16 of them every year, and he makes his own notes, and for certain things he makes little stick figures. It looks like he flunked Sesame Street. Tomorrow when we do the game here, we're going to take a picture of one of those stick figures.
2-0. Chopper up along first base, and it kicks foul. You know, I've seen a lot of arguments, as you have in ballparks, and I have seen a lot of things thrown out of dugouts, stools, towels, gloves, bats, you name it. One time years ago, the Cubs were playing the Dodgers. The Cubs were managed by Frankie Frisch. There was a decision that went against the Cubs. Things came flying out of the Cub dugout. That's fine. And suddenly, a hardback book came out of the dugout. I mean, of all the things in the world you would not expect, it was a book. Frisch was reading a book during the game. And you know what the name of the book was? So help me? Quiet Street. He threw it out at the umpire. And he was on his way to New Rochelle and check his roses. 2-1 to Wally Backman. 3-1. Two down in the second inning. Mets 3 and the Braves nothing. Backman a quick look at Buddy Harrelson. Ground ball hard. Big hop by Horner into right field. And the big guy is going to third. Harper's throw will be cut off by Andres Thomas. So Sid got on his surfboard, hung 10, and went from first to third to the delight of the crowd.
It's hits like that that really make you a valuable player. Now, Fernandez doesn't have a big lead. The ball gets by him. He's jogging down to second, and he rounds second base right about now. He doesn't have a big lead. Now watch him take off. A little delayed reaction there, so he really isn't going like a gazelle, although he's intent on getting over there when he sees Harrelson say, come on over.
Keith Hernandez takes a breaking ball that misses. Ball 1-0. Hernandez grounded out in the first inning. Look what he's hitting in July, okay? A year ago, he was the National League Player of the Month. He hit almost 400 in the month of July. And yet, the way the Mets are playing, they can have Keith Hernandez in a slump, and they just keep rolling along.
Well, Davey Johnson says he even puts on hit-and-run plays to get him to swing that bat. You get in one of those, what Winfield calls period of adjustments, and most of us call slumps. It's like hitting with handcuffs on. And sometimes you just won't swing that bat, and the manager will put a play on, and then it relieves you of any thinking.
2-0, the count of Keith Hernandez. First and third with 2 out. In the dirt, blocked by Virgil, down to second base easily goes Backman. Holding at third is Fernandez, and it was a great save by Ozzie Virgil. He just saved a run.
And that's what he did. He really didn't try to catch it. He just tried to block it, which he did. He backhanded the ball, got his body in front of it, and kept it from getting by.
This is a pitch that'll make you swallow your gum, but he didn't.
He just backhands it, and he gets that big mitt there. He didn't shift over there, but he got enough of that ball to keep it close enough to home plate. The run couldn't score.
Well, first base is open, 3-0 the count, but on deck is Gary Carter. And look at that. It's ball 4. So the bases are loaded for Carter. In the Atlanta bullpen, Craig McMurtry is warming up. And here comes Gary. Hit the 3-run home run in the first inning.
Now, you're the catcher, Vin, and Carter last time up took curveball outside. Ball 1 took curveball, hit it over the fence. What do you do now?
I'd still throw him a curveball, but it better be a better curve than the one he threw him in the first inning. That almost looked like a nothing pitch that was just up.
Yeah, I would not give him a fastball right here. No way. Let's see what happens.
Hard breaking ball for a strike. 0-1. Interestingly enough, Carter is not hitting Atlanta pitching. He's hitting less than 200. He only has 4 hits, but 3 of them have been home runs. Feast or famine. Strike 2, little slider, 0-2.
And they're not giving him a ball, or at least the target is not. Where Virgil sets up, he wants that ball low and outside. They're not going to give him a ball to pull. He may move him back, but if he's going to throw that fastball now inside, he better make sure that it's way inside.
Well, if you remember that Carter hit a home run in the first inning, you certainly remember who's on deck.
Definitely.
Palmer does. High drive into deep left field. It is a way out and gone. Hit another.
Curveball.
An American tradition continues. Baseball's very first league championship series saw them sweep past the Atlanta Braves and uncork a season that will forever be called amazing. Saturday, these two teams meet again as the Braves take on the Mets or the Phillies meet the Astros. The tradition is here. The memories are waiting.
A stunned David Palmer sits in the quiet of the Atlanta dugout because of this.
Now watch how high this curveball is. If it's above the belt, it's not a good curveball, and that ball is above the belt. He threw 2 real good breaking balls for 2 quick strikes. Now watch, there's the target, low and outside. Look where it is, right over the plate. So nobody has to show or tell David Palmer it was not a good pitch.
Darryl Strawberry takes a strike, and for Gary Carter, a career high 7 RBIs. And we're only in the 2nd inning. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Even with the bases loaded, Vin, when you throw a curveball, 2 strikes and no balls, it's got to be a 55-footer. It's got to be in the dirt. You can't make the mistake high. You just cannot throw high curveballs and get away with it.
The 1-1 pitch is a low fastball by Craig McMurtry. Interestingly enough, you really couldn't see that much of a break on either home run pitches. Both of them just stayed up. Not very much happened to them.
They rolled. They rolled.
Well, McMurtry, who came out of the bullpen and picked up as a starter, but now since the deal that brought Doyle Alexander to Atlanta, he's back in the bullpen. Those numbers are keeping him there. 3-2. Strawberry hit by a pitch in the first inning. He had 7 RBIs in a game last year against the Cubs. He went out after David Palmer. 3-2. Oh, slow curveball gets him, and that's that. However, the damage is more than done. 7-0 New York, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. Gary Carter with a 3-run home run in the first inning, a grand slam in the second. Imagine 4 of his 5 hits against the Braves have been home runs. He has really dealt them a lot of damage with 7 RBIs. 24 times in his career has Gary hit more than one home run in a game. So McMurtry is up there, not Palmer. 0-2. McMurtry followed by Thomas and Griffey. This is a day you certainly should not let go by. Anniversary of a game played way back in 1914. And you might say that's too far to even think about, but not particularly, not when you get talking about this one. 1 away. On this date in 1914, the Boston Red Sox beat Cleveland 4-3. The rookie pitcher made his debut, went out for a pinch hitter in the 7th inning. Duffy Lewis got a base hit for the Red Sox, and they went on to beat Cleveland 4-3. The rookie pitcher who made his debut and gave way to a pinch hitter on this date, Babe Ruth.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Hey, it's 7-0 Mets.
Is that right? It took him out for a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
You believe that? Who was the one? He joined what? Carl Hardy, who pinch hit for Williams.
There you go. Hot one inside third and down the line. So Andres Thomas on his way for an extra base hit, and he'll make it easily. Stand-up double. Sid Fernandez has struck out 5 in 2 1/3 innings.
Well, your thinking behind the plate certainly changes with a 7-run lead. Primarily, you just want to get strikes, and you want to do that with the pitch that he's going to throw the most strikes with, his fastball. But then you can't forget the other stuff in case you want to go to the well to get in. So you have to kind of mix it in, much like you're making a salad.
Here's 36-year-old Ken Griffey, who walked in the first inning and stole second. Ball 1. Griffey made an observation that has to do with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Someone was asking him about Dave Winfield. 1 ball and no strikes. And he drives it in the air to right center. On his horse is Dykstra. He's got it. Tagging up is Thomas, and he'll move over to third. What Griffey said was Winfield's troubles based on the fact he doesn't have Don Baylor hitting back of him anymore. And then Ken said, look what Jim Rice is doing now that Baylor's at Boston. And I've read all kinds of things about Winfield. That's the first time I've heard anybody talk about how he misses Baylor.
I would agree with that. Definitely. I think that Baylor's taking a lot of heat off Jim Rice in Boston. Jim's just, all he has to do is go out there and use that bat, and we all know he can do that very well.
Dale Murphy struck out in the first inning. And time called.
A beach ball on the netting. Jerry Crawford behind the plate says, I don't know what to do about it. It's out of play.
2 out in the 3rd inning. Mets 7 and the Braves nothing. Chopper to shortstop. Kevin Mitchell cranks up, and that takes care of Murphy. And so the Braves leave Andres Thomas at third. And at the end of 2.5, 7-0 New York. I was wondering about Gary Carter in a one-sided game. Do you think he's just going to call fastballs, and wouldn't that bring the Braves back into the game?
Not if he's got a good enough one. Carter's biggest problem is remembering what finger he puts down. He'll look and say 1 fastball, that's it.
Did you ever play in a game where you led 7-0?
No, trail 7-0.
High pop fly on the right side. Ken Oberkfell. 1 away. Ray Knight coming up. He grounded to third in the first inning. The Mets with some fine arms. They might very well wind up with 4 20-game winners. The Orioles of '71 had Palmer and Cuellar, Dobson and McNally. And with Gooden, Fernandez, and Oida already having won in double figures. Knight's going to hit one in the corner, and he'll have an extra base hit. He's into second, and he's going to go for 3. The relay from Oberkfell, he is in there. So Ray Knight triples into the right field corner. That's his first triple of the year, so he's formally introduced to Buddy Harrelson.
It's good to see the veteran base runner who really knows what he's doing. When you picked up that shot, you saw him following that ball all the way. He knew when he got to second base that he was going to make himself a 3-base hit. He didn't even look for the coach. He didn't have to because the play was in front of him.
So Knight at third. The infield up on the right side, halfway on the left. 7-0 Mets in the third. One away, Kevin Mitchell. 0-1. Boy, how the years go tumbling by. The Mets were playing in San Diego, and Mitchell wound up at third, and he turned to Greg Nettles, and he said, "My dad says to say hello." And Nettles looked at Mitchell and didn't make any sense. He said, "What are you talking about?" Kevin said, "My dad played basketball with you." And sure enough, they went back that far together, and here was the son, now a major leaguer. Mitchell endearing himself to Davy Johnson, not only playing so many different positions, he's hitting over 400 with runners in scoring position. That'll really make a manager love it. 4-4. So first and third with one out, and Sid Fernandez will be coming up.
Now, Mets pitcher Sid Fernandez.
Here's the scoreboard. As you can see, the Angels leading, Cleveland leading, Toronto doing the same, Baltimore edging Chicago, the Yankees out in front in Minnesota, Kansas City beat Detroit, Seattle, Milwaukee later on. By the way, we understand that Reggie Jackson has hit 2 home runs tonight. Ball hit down the left field line, coming in a hurry. It's going to land in front of Griffey. It'll be a ground rule double. Knight scores. Mitchell has to stop at third. And it is 8-0 New York.
Griffey running hard, can't get it. Deflects it enough to knock it into the stands. And Mitchell has to stop at third. And Fernandez has himself 2 base hits. He's got a run scored. He's got an RBI. Hoshide will be paying dinners for a while the way he's going tonight.
A note again on the Reggie Jackson home run. He has hit 2 home runs against Tom Seaver tonight. You don't think that wasn't a dramatic confrontation?
Say what you want, but if the stage is set properly, Reggie Jackson will give you just a Hall of Fame performance.
Yeah.
He's not hitting home runs in a long time, but with Seaver pitching.
High drive into right center field. On his horse, Murphy and Harper. It's going to bounce over the wall. That'll get both runs home. It's a double for Dykstra, and it is 10-0 Mets. 10-0.
And Atlanta's lucky that ball bounced over that wall, because if they have a little trouble picking it up, Dykstra might have had himself an inside the park. Now they're trying to figure out what's going to happen here, and it hits and bounces, not even close how far over that wall it goes. And both of them saying, should have stood in bed.
Boy, 2 doubles, a triple, and a walk against McMurtry in the third inning. 5 extra base hits, including a grand slam by the Mets. The murmur of protest by Atlanta was a double by Andres Thomas in the third inning. And here's Wally Backman. 0-1. Boy, you talk about beating a club like a drum. The Mets are wearing the Braves out, and we're only in the third inning. 10-0 New York. Ground ball to the right side, so that gets his man over. So Backman moving Dykstra to third. And with 2 down, the batter will be Keith Hernandez.
So you get a game like this, and you're on the short end like Atlanta is, or the long end, however you want to look at it, and you want to take a roll call after every inning, see if anybody got hurt.
Rick Aguilera pitching tomorrow for the Mets, and he's probably thinking, why can't I put some in escrow? Why do they have to spend them all tonight? Hernandez rolled out and walked. 0 for 1. He was aboard when Carter hit his slam in the second inning. The Mets, well, they've led by 8 or more since early June. And, of course, Gary's one of the big reasons. What a night he's having with 7 runs batted in. For the Braves, the closest they've been. They were 1.5 games out on the 3rd of July in the dirt. Show you what has happened to the Braves, and you wonder why they traded Joe Johnson and Dwayne Ward away. Chuck Tanner has seen his starting pitching disappear. When they lost 6 out of 7, they averaged 9 runs allowed per game. In his last 6 losses, you can include tonight now, in his last 7 losses, his starters have not gone more than 5 innings. And they will have given up 35 runs in only 27 innings. His starting pitcher.
And I'll tell you, pitching like that.
Wow. And in direct contrast, you know, we were talking about the Mets pitchers. Think of the pitchers that the Mets have traded away. And it's mind-boggling. Never mind the great staff they have. They've traded away Mike Scott, Tim Leary, Floyd Yeoman, Jay Tibbs, Walt Terrell, and Jeff Reardon. Well, Keith a little disgusted. He can't join in the fun. And here comes Gary Carter. Hit a 3-run home run in the first inning and a grand slam home run in the second. Right. 0-1. Craig McMurtry picking up the pieces for David Palmer, and he's already given up 3 runs. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, he has a chance to tie him with a base hit now. 2-1.
You're not going to give him the fastball. At least he's keeping it out of the strike zone. Gary has hit 2 curveballs as we look at strong.
Especially that fateful day against Montreal. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Interestingly enough, for Bob Horner to hit 4 home runs in a game, it had been done 11 times. But it's the only time in modern times since 1900 that he hit 4 home runs in a game, and his team lost 11-8. Well, here's Captain Horns, as they call him, leading off in the 4th inning. Right. High pop fly going out as Backman, coming in as Dykstra. It's Dykstra. Couple of National League scores underway, with the Cubs leading the Dodgers, Cincinnati leading Montreal, and you can see Philadelphia leading Houston. That's an important game. We'll watch them all. The Astros and the Giants are tied for first. San Diego 2 back, Atlanta 4, and Cincinnati making noises began at 6.5 back. And the one thing for Pete Rose, he keeps pointing out, the Reds have more home games after the All-Star break than any other team. That's it off the end of the bat, a 1-hopper to the right side. And that's it for Harper. 2 down. Rafael Ramirez struck out in the 2nd inning. Sid Fernandez has struck out 5. He's allowed 2 hits. Ramirez had one of the longest nights I've ever seen a ball player have in a game. It was a night where the Braves played the Dodgers and left 18 men on base. And And in that game, Ramirez left 11 men on all by himself. Well, talk about go back and beat the walls of the hotel room. What he did 3 times, he came up with the bases loaded. There's 9 right there, and then the last time up, he left 2 more.
You get in a game like that, and you just can't hide.
The one good thing for Ramirez to temper his frustration. The Braves, despite leaving the 18 men, won the game. Now, if they had lost the game, he really would have been looking to go out of town. 3-2. Sid Fernandez trying to win his 12th. He and Shane Rawley and Fernando Valenzuela have each won 11. He'd be the first 12-game winner. High foul. Keith was afraid of the dugout and still caught it. Boy, you talk about doing a mental tightrope. He thought he was right on the step. He still had a couple of feet and backhands it for the out. A Gold Glove in action.
And with Gary Carter there, it almost looks like a dance step.
And at the end of 3 1/2, 10-0 Mets. He was hit by the first pitch after Carter's 3-run home run. Went out after David Palmer. Palmer threw his glove at Strawberry. And then it really started. Ozzie Virgil grabbed Darrell. Plate umpire Jerry Crawford pulled Palmer away. Both benches emptied. And that really was that. Except Palmer had more than lost his composure. A grand slam chased him by Carter in the second inning. Well, Palmer never came up to the plate. There was no chance of even any retaliation if the Mets thought about it. And here we are in the 4th, 10-0 New York. Ground ball to the left side to Andres Thomas. Oh, he threw a dead fish over there. Hey, now. Whoa, that's no way to get a job at shortstop.
No, sir, he nonchalanted that play. He just picked it up like he was walking through the park. Now watch him. He picks it up one-handed, and he's just going to flip it over there. And, I mean, he threw a rainbow.
Oh, that's a 10-0 throw.
That's not a big league throw. That's one of those you look in the sporting news the next week under transactions.
And he's going to get an error, and rightfully so. He probably will hear about it from his manager, too, a little later. Hopper to third, knocked down by Ramirez, and Foster's going to beat it out. So just like that, McMurtry's in trouble. Back-to-back errors.
Foster hasn't wasted any time. Every time he's been up, he's hit the first pitch. Ramirez gets caught in between hops. You can see him lean back and then say, I better go in and try to get the short hop. Doesn't make it. And now McMurtry has got a few passengers.
Tanner flanked on Chuck's right or your left. That's Bob Skinner and pitching coach Johnny Sain leaning forward, hat pulled down to the brow. 3 very unhappy wise men. Ray Knight, 2 on and nobody out. 0-1. Knight grounded to third and then tripled with 1 out in the 3rd inning. So Ray 1 for 2. This is game 7 between the Mets and the Braves, and the Mets have won 4 out of 6. When we get to the end of July, then it will be West versus West, and the same in the East. Big chopper over the mound behind second. Big hop into center field for a base hit. Strawberry to the plate, and he will score. Holding at second, Foster. 11-0 Mets.
You know, in a ball game like this, as a catcher, Virgil's position, you almost feel like a maitre d'. Everybody's come by. Hello, George. Hello. Hello, everybody. Yeah. Here comes another one across. Say hello. Table for 4.
So 2 errors and a base hit. And that'll bring up Kevin Mitchell. With runners at first and second, nobody out. 11 runs, 9 hits for the Mets. No runs, 2 hits for the Braves. Check swing, but it's going to go for a strike. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. On deck, Sid Fernandez. In the dirt, 2-1. When you look at the Mets and you realize we're only in the 4th inning. Everyone but George Foster has scored a run already.
And that includes the 2 trainers.
And George is in scoring position now. What a rout. Fastball. He didn't get around, but he got it over the mound. They'll get 1, and they will double Mitchell at first base. So the chopper to Oberkfell, good for 2, and Foster now is at third. And the batter, Sid Fernandez, with a single and a double. In an 11-0 game, naturally there isn't very much tension. And in looking at Fernandez, 2 for 2, he's a pretty good hitter. We're doing some research. As far as the most hits in a career, you know the best hitting pitcher of all time? Walter Johnson. He had over 500 hits. The best hitting pitcher as far as RBIs in a career played right here in New York for the Yankees, Red Ruffing. And Steve Carlton, who's supposed to pitch tonight for the Giants, ranked 7th in hits and 8th in RBIs. It is a thought that we would never mention, except it's 11-0. You got to bring your lunch when you come to school.
That's right. Somebody took the yellow pages, or we'd be reading those.
That's right. Foster down the line from third with 2 out. Roller up along first base to Horner, and that will be that. Mercifully, 1 run, a couple of errors, and a base hit. 11-0 New York. And Tanner ready to eat his scorecard. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Oh, say, Alfalfa, I'm not dead.
I'm an actor again.
Can you believe that?
Eddie Murphy and the Honey Drippers, Saturday.
When it's 11-0 in your favor, what does a big league bullpen do?
They do anything to entertain themselves. And what you see Roscoe and Bereni and McDowell doing, they're flicking seeds. They'll try to catch it in their mouth. And they may play for points or whatever.
Now, that's a big league bullpen. You wonder about the other man sitting there wearing a windbreaker with his arms folded. Why isn't he playing in the game? Well, you see, he's not a big leaguer yet.
He doesn't have enough time in the league.
That's Scott Holman, a kid who's working out with the ball club. The big leaguers play with the seeds, and he watches. Meanwhile, the Mets have knocked that seed from pillar to post to lead at 11-0, and here's Ozzie Virgil.
It's games like this where you come up with all ugly teams, all animal teams.
2 balls and no strikes to count. Remember, we told you Ozzie does not have a hit against Sid Fernandez. He is 0 for 17 lifetime against him. He's going to be 0 for 18. 1 down. Tomorrow, our coverage of the 86 season continues. Right here, we'll try it again. It'll be Rick Aguilera and Rick Mailer, the Mets and the Braves, or in other areas, the Phillies versus the Astros. The action gets underway at 1:30 with Major League Baseball and Inside Look. We'll be looking forward to you tomorrow. Ken Oberkfell, right.
When you read that, I was kind of snickered because it made it sound like if this was a situation comedy, they would have canceled it.
Now, what we're doing is if we're going to stay here until we get it right.
Okay.
1 ball and 1 strike. Sid Fernandez getting it right. 5 strikeouts. He hasn't allowed anybody to get on since Thomas doubled. He's retired the last 6 in a row. Fouled away. The Mets with 11 runs, that ties their season high. They beat San Diego early in June 11-2. Look at those numbers, 11-9-0, and of those 9 hits, Dykstra a double, Knight a triple, Fernandez a double, 2 home runs by Gary Carter, one with 2 on and the other a grand slam. He has driven in 7 of the 11. 2-2. 3-2, and he's back now. He's not just throwing fastballs anymore.
Well, it's what Carter's trying to do is to keep him sharp enough that if he has to go to his breaking stuff, it'll be there. Because if you don't call on it, it just won't be there when you need it.
Fouled away. The first league championship series ever played in the National League was back in 1969, and it was the Mets versus the Braves. The Mets went on to sweep the Braves. Henry Aaron hitting home runs in each game. And then the fulfillment of the impossible dream as the Mets won the championship. The Mets won the league championship series in '73 and then lost a 7-game World Series to the Oakland A's. The last time the Braves won a league championship series was in 1982, but they were blown out 3 straight by the Cardinals. Second walk given up by Fernandez, and here's Craig McMurtry. Craig McMurtry. The book that won the Pulitzer Prize this year, Lonesome Dove, and it's as great a read as you will ever have an opportunity to read, I think, was written by Larry McMurtry. Now, Craig is from Texas. The book written by Larry McMurtry was all about Texas, and I thought, holy mackerel, and the inside cover it said, to the McMurtry boys. I thought, what a story. He's related to the guy who won the Pulitzer Prize. So we asked him. Craig said, no relation. Let a fact get in the way of a great story.
That would have been a great one. You could have ended up another rest of the story.
Yep, Craig let me down. But boy, what a book.
I like your story better. What do you think of
Really?
that?
No. Lonesome Dove, it's something. 1 out, 5th inning. Anything but lonesome here. 11-0 Mets. 2-2.
You would be the kind of a guy if the fight broke out, somebody threw a book on the field, it'd be yours?
No, I'd pick it up and run back and read it. You know, once in my life, I sat in a dugout at a Major League game. Once. That's 6 strikeouts for Sid Fernandez. The Dodgers were playing the Cubs, and I was, in a sense, I had the day off. And Lasorda said, come on, you've never done that. I want you to sit in the dugout. So I put on a uniform. Nobody knew it. I made sure that Tommy had gotten permission from the umpires, and I sat very quietly in the dugout, hat pulled down over my eyes so that no one would see me, and I was just enjoying it. And all of a sudden, John Vukovich of the Cubs came by, and he rolled a baseball over to the dugout. I picked it up, and written on it said, if a fight breaks out, I want you, and it was Don Zimmer. That's the closest I've ever come. 0-1.
You hear some choice remarks, don't you?
I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I heard out of the dugout.
I tell you, bench jockeying is a lost art, and that's a shame.
No balls and 1 strike. 0-2. 5th inning, 11-0 Mets. You have Oberkfell at first with 2 out. Andres Thomas fouled out and doubled. 1 for 2. 1-2. Balls and 2 strikes.
I couldn't believe it. Gary Carter was still looking up. At least it looked that way, checking Thomas's eyes as if he was trying to sneak a peek for location. Let's see if he checks him out. Look at him. He did.
So Fernandez strikes out 2 in the inning. He now has 7 strikeouts. And at the end of 4 1/2, 11-0 Mets. 11-0 Mets in the bottom of the 5th inning, and another tremendous performance by Sid Fernandez. Fernandez has allowed 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Really, all he has to do is pay attention. Dykstra walked, struck out, and doubled. There is Sid Fernandez. Just imagine. He has more victories than Gooden. He has half the number of losses of Gooden. With the 7 strikeouts tonight, he has the same number of strikeouts as Gooden. And he is on his way to become the first 12-game winner in the National League. Sid Fernandez. He came here in the deal that sent Carlos Diaz and Bob Baylor to Los Angeles. Ground ball inside third, and Dykstra is at it again. He'll have another double.
Don't think that was an accident. He looked that way on one pitch, and this one was inside. He was going all the way. He was going to go to the opposite field. He just inside outed it, as they talked about it. He's got himself a 2-base hit. Watch the way he uses that bat, inside out.
Rafael Ramirez wide of the bag at third, never had a chance. So Dykstra is 2 for 3 tonight. 2 doubles and a walk. The only time they got him, he struck out in the second inning. And the batter will be Wally Backman, followed by Keith Hernandez.
They talk about a Jefferson who's in the farm system as being quite a prospect. They got 2 pretty good ones up here.
And that's hit to third. On his knees, Ramirez to get him. And for Backman, since the club is leading 11-0, nobody's going to say anything to him about not getting the man over. You would expect him to try to pull. Hit the ball hard, but right at Ramirez. Now the batter, Keith Hernandez.
Keith Hernandez.
Hernandez grounded out in the first inning, walked in the second, walked in the third. On deck, the man who has really gotten into the first paragraph along with Sid Fernandez, Gary Carter. What a combination. Fernandez pitching a shutout and Carter with 7 RBIs tonight. 4-1.
That'll get your reputation as a great handler of pitchers better than anything I know.
Handled him all right.
Other side.
For the Mets, when you look at their lineup, it glistens with stars. Keith Hernandez, Gary Carter, and Darryl Strawberry, all named to the All-Star squad. Strawberry got the most votes. Sid Fernandez pitching tonight is on the squad. Well, they've come a long way. Carter, Fernandez, Strawberry, etc. A chance to make the Mets the winningest team in a long time. Boy, is he disgusted.
He wants to swing the bat.
It's the 3rd time that he has walked tonight. And here comes Gary Carter. You know, when you think about it, the Mets can learn a great deal from their own history. In fact, what do they say? If you don't learn from history, you're going to repeat it. In 1973, the Mets were 11 and a half games out on August the 5th, and they recovered and won. It's a good idea for them to remember that, so they will not take their present lead for granted. A big curveball. They're trying to move him out of there. The crowd's booing, but he wasn't going to try and knock him down or intimidate him with a big overhead curve.
I think Gary was looking for a fastball, saw that curveball coming, and couldn't believe it, and could hardly get out of the way.
There's your score page. The 8, of course, when he flied deep to center in the 3rd inning. Ground ball hard to short. Thomas, Oberkfell to Horner. So 6-4-3 double play. Dykstra is left. And at the end of 5, Mets 11, Braves nothing. Here's another edition of Characters of the Game.
Characters of the Game, brought to you by A&W Root Beer. Sit back and pour yourself a frosty one.
It was kind of a let's go see what happens today idea with the fans there, and we showed them plenty.
The 1962 Mets were so bad, they were adored. With the lovable Casey Stengel at the helm, this band of characters managed 120 losses that fabled summer, a modern-day record. The original Mets featured the likes of Roger Craig, their ace. He'd lead the league with 24 losses. Then there was Choo Choo Coleman, who couldn't remember his teammates' names, so he just called them by their number. and marvelous Marv Throneberry, who once tripled and then was called out for failing to touch first and second. Yes, the 1962 New York Mets were indeed characters of the game.
I say that I touched first base, but I might have missed second.
Well, it's only fair. The Atlanta Braves walked Keith Hernandez 3 times, so Davy Johnson told him to take a walk, and Hernandez comes out of the game. Gary Carter will now play first base, and Ed Hearn will take over behind the plate. Jerry Crawford, the plate umpire, was in the Mets dugout for a moment to get a drink of water.
Santana was checking Hernandez as if he was playing trainer and said, let me see if you're all right. You're not all right. You go inside.
Yeah, you're hurting. So there's Ed Hearn. 6th inning. Ken Griffey, followed by Dale Murphy and then Bob Horner. Sid Fernandez has struck out 7. He allowed a single to Terry Harper in the 2nd and a double to Andres Thomas in the 3rd, and that's it. High foul off 3rd, down the line, and slicing into the seats out of play. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
This is WNBC TV, New York.
The Mets with 3 in the 1st, a 3-run home run by Carter, 4 in the 2nd, a grand slam by Carter, and 3 more in the 3rd, have ripped it wide open 11-0, and we're in the 6th. 1-1. Popped it up on the left side. Mitchell going out. Foster coming in. It'll be Kevin. And all fall down and go boom. Nice play, Kev.
Big grin on his face. I think he did that so Grandma could see him. Look at him.
Mr. Smooth.
He's got it all the way, and boom, boom.
You know what'll happen now? That'll make a highlight film, and it'll be all over both leagues. I'll tell you what, he's a little too big to laugh at. You might smile along with him. Boy, is he put together.
You laugh with him.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at him.
Here's Dale Murphy. Murph struck out, grounded out 0 for 2. Timeout for the moment. The second base umpire, that would be Dana DeMute.
I guess they want the diamond vision out. He's pointing towards diamond vision.
Yeah.
Maybe Murphy is...
See, he really makes an impression on him.
Who does?
Murphy. His picture lingers a while.
I see. I kind of like that if I was him. Wouldn't you?
If I was as good a player. I wouldn't want it up there if I was hitting 180 or something.
Well, you just noticed that if a guy's hitting over 300, he never gets in there and hits the first pitch. 110, oh boy, put those lights out.
Look at those muscle numbers. But he has not done that this year. You know, he's averaged 108 RBIs each of the last 4 years. Right now, he figures to hit 69. That's all. The way he's going. Ball 3. Sid Fernandez. What a story. On his way to his 12th win. Only 2 losses. Boy, I couldn't be happier for him either. In there.
You can just tell by the rhythm of Fernandez out there. He's just on fastballs. He gets that ball and in for a strike. Get the ball in for a strike. Get the ball in for a strike, and why not? 11 runs. A lot of margin for error.
Got him. No, that's 8 strikeouts. Remember, his high this year is 10. A reminder tomorrow, the 1986 NBC Golf Tour swings into action. We go to historic Williamsburg, Virginia, the Anheuser-Busch Golf Classic. Join top PGA players like Calvin Peete and Craig Stadler. They'll compete for the $500,000 purse. Tune in tomorrow, 4:30 Eastern Daylight, and on Sunday starting at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 in Los Angeles only, for exciting golf action right here on NBC Sports. Can you believe it? Less than 100, and he's 0 for 2 tonight. Chain. Struck out, fly to center. Sid Fernandez, 8 strikeouts. He now has more strikeouts than Dwight Gooden. Gooden's problems, if you remember, he won 5. He was 5-0. Now, after that period, he's now 5-4. 2-2.
That's a good high-riding fastball. You see that thing just zip up. He's got a good one up there in that area.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Bob Horner. Now back.
Ed Hearns is putting down 1. The fastball, 2 for the curve, and give me a strike. Here it comes.
Slow curveball on the corner. 9 strikeouts for Sid Fernandez. And at the end of 5½, 11-0 Mets. It's absolutely impossible to think of the New York Mets without thinking of number 37.
They're sticking with us. We've got them from the babies up. As soon as the kid could talk, he started to say Metsy, Metsy, not Papa, not Mama, Metsy, Metsy, Metsy. So that's what they are. They're now singing the kids, Metsy, Metsy, Metsy. See, when they want food and everything. So the babies are even started. We got them from 4 years on. We got them from 10 years on, 15 years on, 18 years on. And we got them in a group. They have their own groups that come out here. It'd be just like you're giving a banquet at our ball games. Each group comes out with their own group, and it's been spellbound. And, of course, we've drawn over 1 million people who could do that. But just the amazing Mets. And then they have that effeminate appeal, too, the Mets have. Our players, you know, look into the stands and have a graceful walk when they go up to the plate. And when they come back, if they get a home run, they know they come in there and everybody bows to them and pats them on the back. So it'd be great to be a Met, and it'd be great to have the fans if we can get up in the race so they'll be supported for their wonderful sport. And I want to thank the broadcasters, the writers, and the photographers. They've done the biggest job that's ever been done to help bring the club forward. Now it's up to the players and the manager to get the team better so that we at least repay the money we've taken from the fans in New York City.
Oh, God rest his soul, Casey Stengel. Ground ball to the right side. Fell over to Chris Chambliss, who just came in the game, but we would rather listen to Casey right now, as we did. Chambliss is at first, and Omar Moreno is in center field for Dale Murphy. 1 down.
Not that there's any strategy involved him. I just wonder if George will take a whack at the first pitch. He's done it the other 3 times up.
Fly to center, pop to second, reached on an error by Rafael Ramirez. 11-0 Mets in the 6th inning. The big story, of course, Sid Fernandez striking out 9 in 6 innings while limiting the Braves to only 2 hits. And now 2 of the Braves' biggest guns have been withdrawn, Murphy and Horner. 2-0.
Would this be the equivalent of a mandatory 8 count?
If it were boxing, they'd have stopped it. Hit that a little bit off the end of the bat, but he can still drive it to right center where Moreno makes the catch and flips the ball to Terry Harper. 1 away. Now 2. And the batter will be Ray Knight. Omar Moreno spreading his tent out there.
Ray Knight.
Knight grounded to third, triple to right, and single to center to drive in a run. Dale Murphy, who had his streak snapped at 7:40, rested, came back, and now is taken out of the game tonight with 3 innings to go. Ball 2. Murphy had struck out twice and grounded to short, but he had company. Horner struck out twice and flied to center. Ball 3.
You ever go to a restaurant and watch everybody else eat and you can't?
No. I mean, I just never had.
Well, if you ever have, that's the feeling the Braves have right now.
Everybody's having a good time with me.
That's right. I came in this restaurant and they won't feed me.
I don't know, though. If you're a professional, it's probably easier to forget this kind of a game. Wouldn't you rather be blown out of the water like this than to lose a game by 1 in the 9th inning? Even Wilbur Stargell or anybody.
To forget it, when it's over, but going through it.
That's the quarterback. 3rd and 49 on his own 10, and he looks up in the huddle and says, got any ideas?
That's right.
Absolute silence.
You got a 50-yard play?
2-0. Since the middle of May, Kevin Mitchell has absolutely exploded. You talk about feeling at home. He's gotten his average up to 347, but he did that by hitting about 430 in June. What a find he is. And he's a kid who never played high school baseball. Didn't like it. He just wanted to play football.
But he's enjoying it up here, I'll tell you that.
Oh, and how. And he bangs it at short, and that's that. So they will leave Ray Knight at first, and at the end of 6, 11-0 Mets. Sid Fernandez going to work, and we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. The question came up, of course, when the Mets was swept for the first time this week by Cincinnati. Are there any teams left in the majors who have not been swept in a 3-game series? And there the answer. The Boston Red Sox, not too much of a surprise. Atlanta Braves and Montreal Expos, a little bit of a surprise there. Ball 1. In fact, the last team to go through a year without being swept a 3-game series, the 76 Cincinnati Reds. The Big Red Machine of 75 was swept a 4-game series. Foul back, 1-1. Harper has singled and grounded out. Fernandez, as he builds his rhythm, and the key to his rhythm is the right foot. He uses the right foot almost like a baton. It does a little extra fillip. Meanwhile, the left leg of Terry Harper protected from a foul ball. 2-1. Fernandez will plant the left foot, and as he turns and comes, he'll kick with the right foot. It just does a little rhythmical bounce. He collects everything and comes at you. Little fly ball to shallow right. Darryl Strawberry. You know, not only have the Braves been blown out, but there have been very meek outs. I mean, they're just not hitting the ball at all. Take a look at the movement of this kid who is on his way to become the first 12-game winner. See how just before it hits the ground, it swings and goes out. And then he really comes down and in at you. Drive to left field, and Foster a little late reacting, but picks it off.
I'll tell you another interesting thing about that shot of Fernandez's pitching delivery, Ben. You talk about his right foot. You may have noticed his left foot, the sock, how dirty it is, and that just emphasizes how low he really bends because he drags that foot. Look how dirty that sock is in there. And watch him when he delivers it, how it'll just drag. That is really getting down there.
And yet his knee doesn't touch. Remember Jim Bunning and Seaver? High fly ball to Foster. Easy play. So the Braves tiptoe out of the 7th inning, and at the end of 6½, it's 11-0 Mets. Now here's another edition of the 7th inning stretch.
You talked about Seaver, you talked about Bunning. Gary Matthews has to have the pine tar mark on the back of his uniform. You look at Fernandez tonight, if he's not bending down properly, he wouldn't get his sock dirty. So the laundryman, he would be the guy.
Did you check your own uniform when you played as to see whether you were on the beam or not?
No, I checked my uniform to see if I was on a team. I'd go in there and look at
that
it.
Sounded like it was rehearsed.
It was not.
Not bad.
Really analytic.
Next week, East Lynn.
That's right. Bring on the clowns.
Couple of changes. Ted Simmons is now at third base for Atlanta, and Rafael Ramirez will go to left field. With 24-man rosters, the manager's trying to get a little more out of the players, and so Ramirez gets a little extra chance to work in the outfield. That's why a kid like Kevin Mitchell is so important to a ball club. Sid Fernandez, single, double, and slices it to left. Ramirez has it over his head. Now let's see about the surfboard. The surfboard will stop at second. He hung 10 and said that's far enough. His third hit.
The yellow flag went up as soon as he got to first base. Bill Robinson just slowed him down. There's no sense him trying to get himself a three-base hit. He'd like to see him get the complete game.
You know, we'd like to remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game, and it's going to be very tough. I mean, you have Gary Carter with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs, including the grand slam. You have Sid Fernandez with a single and 2 doubles, a shutout, a 2-hitter, and 9 strikeouts. You almost get to King Solomon about cutting the baby in half. Foul ball down the line, out of play.
How about this little guy? He hasn't exactly had a slump night.
Dykstra with a walk and 2 doubles. 11-0 Mets. For Sid Fernandez and his Marching and Chowder Society, this is the second time in his young career he's had a 3-hit game. Last year, he had 3 hits against Pittsburgh. 1-2. Foul ball. Still 1-2.
Trying to go to the opposite field, but they're getting it in so tight he can't get that inside-out swing. That time he started that way and then realized that he was too far in and just pulled a foul.
Dykstra hitting almost .425 with runners in scoring position. He's had a great year. 2-2. Craig McMurtry staring down the barrel to get a sign from Ozzie Virgil. Oh, boy. Great pitch. Dykstra flew wide open.
Yes, completely fooled. That's all you can say. And he's talking to himself all the way back to the bench.
Wally Backman bunted for a base hit, then singled and grounded out twice. 2 for 4. 11-0 Mets. It'll take a lot to get Fernandez home, however, and I don't mean that in any disparaging way, but there's no reason to send him in unless he can just about walk home. Backman followed by the catcher, Ed Hearn. Hearn finishing up as Carter took over at first base. Ramirez for the catch, and holding is Fernandez. 2 down, and Ed Hearn the batter. To duck in some more scores, a whole bunch of them. The Angels breezing, Cleveland leading, Toronto ahead, Seattle, Milwaukee rain, Baltimore leading the Sox, Yankees leading, Kansas City 1, and Detroit leading 5-0. Fouled away. For the National League coming up, scores of those games. Cubs leading, Cincinnati leading Montreal, and Philadelphia leading Houston 3-1. San Diego leading the Cardinals 1-0 in the second. happen in that, well, it's a little early yet. That's right. It haven't started yet in San Francisco. Pittsburgh at San Francisco. That's the other part of the puzzle with Houston losing. San Francisco tied and San Diego 2 back. Craig McMurtry trying to get a grip on the ball and the game, but it's long gone. 11-0 Mets.
Watching Fernandez walk back and forth. It's a delightful evening here, but he's dressed like it's October. Gloves on, jacket. I guess it's cool if you come from Hawaii, huh?
I tell you. Wait a minute. Oh, he chased a bad ball, and Hearn goes down. So McMurtry picks up a couple of strikeouts. They leave Sid Fernandez at second at the end of 7. The Mets 11 and the Braves nothing. Craig McMurtry knows full well, as you and I do, that he was called in to mop up. The game was over by the time he came in. It was 7-0 Mets. But Chuck Tanner also knows that confidence is such a fragile thing. So he has to take time out and encourage McMurtry, exhort him to hang in there and finish up the job. And he gets some handshakes from his teammates as well. Ball 1 to Ken Overcombe.
The eternal optimist, Tanner, once described if he'd have been on the Titanic, he would have said, guys, don't worry, we're just going to get a little ice and go.
1-1.
Before the inning ended, you said something I got to tell you.
Yeah.
What did you got to tell me?
You were talking about Sid Fernandez saying he was bundled up, right? The Hawaiian. This is true. I was in Atlanta. Got into a taxi cab, and I mean it was hot, right? Hot.
Yeah.
I said to the cab driver, boy, it's hot. Walter. The cab driver said, yeah. He said, it took me a while to get accustomed to the heat here. I said, where are you from? He said, Ethiopia. I swear. So you see, all things for all people.
Relative.
Yeah. 3-1 to count. Sid Fernandez, boy, is he at home. 9 strikeouts. Breezing in the 8th inning. That's his right. 3-2. Billy Sample is on deck to hit for Craig McMurtry. Here's Billy. Ed Olwine been throwing in the pen. So there's ball 4 to Kenny Oberkfell. It's the 3rd walk given up by Fernandez while striking out his 9. Of his 9 strikeouts, 7 of the 9 the hitters swung and missed. Only twice have been called. Here's Sample. Ball 1. The Braves have done a fine job in pinch hitting this year, led by Ted Simmons. They've become a little team within the team. They refer to themselves as the Bomb Squad. Simmons, the leader, with 9 hits, a home run, and 13 RBIs. Sample hasn't done too much, but he does have a home run as a pinch hitter. Foul ball. Carter can't get it. Gary finishing up the game at first base. So you can close the books on McMurtry. He gave up 4 runs, 6 hits, struck out 3, walked 4, and of the 4 runs, 3 were earned. 1-1. Big break on that ball.
Looked like one of those pitches you throw when you're experimenting with it on the sidelines. You just want to try it in the game.
Mookie Wilson is now in right field to finish up for Darryl Strawberry. Fouled away. 2-2. There's Mookie loosening up the hamstring. Wilson in right, Dykstra in center, and Foster in left. Carter playing first, and Hearn behind the plate. Sound like a broken bat. Ground ball to second. They get 1. The throw to first not in time. So Sample cracks his bat, hits into a force play.
Watch Mitchell, who is the middleman on this.
The shortstop.
He really, when he gets the ball, he's already stopped, and he got pretty good stuff on that ball. But he's just not what you would call fluid yet.
No, not yet. Andres Thomas fouled out, doubled, struck out. 11-0 Mets. We're in the top of the 8th inning. High fly ball to center. Lenny Dykstra is there. 2 down in the 8th inning. We were talking about the Baltimore Orioles in 1971, the fact that they had 4 20-game winners. Fernandez is going to win his 12th tonight. Then Ojeda and Gooden with 10 apiece. Darling is a little off the pace with 8 wins. That would be something, huh? It could be historic. Here's Ted Simmons. Foul back. 0-1. With those 18 RBIs, 13 of them have come as a pinch hitter. The entire Mets team has 9 pinch hit RBIs to show you what kind of a year Teddy's had coming off the bench. Fouled away. 0-2. He got the name years ago when he had long hair. They called him Simba.
Bob Bragg hung that on him.
In St. Louis. That big sweeper, and it got him. So Simmons nicked by the pitch. Sample goes down to second, and the batter will be Omar Moreno. 2 on, 2 out in the 8th. 11-0 Mets. The Mets, the only team in baseball not to have been shut out, and the staff has turned in 6 shutouts. And Fernandez is trying to go the distance with a shutout. Slap foul. 0-1. For the Braves, they've been shut out 3 times. And all 3 shutouts on the road. For Sid Fernandez, it's only the 3rd time he's been able to look back to second base and see a runner there. Griffey in the 1st inning when he stole second. Thomas, who doubled in the 3rd. And now here in the 8th. Looper, foul. Still 1-2. So back to first goes Ted Simmons. Holding at second is Billy Sample. 1-2 to Moreno. Two and 2. Paid attendance tonight, 39,924. The Mets reached the 1.5 million mark at the earliest date in the history of the franchise, 25 years. Right at the 40,000 mark tonight. So 3-2 and 2 down. The runners go. Sample from second and Simmons from first. On deck, Chris Chambliss. Away. There's Chris, son of a Navy chaplain. Fernandez has won 6 straight, 7 of his last 8. And he figures to have a lock on this one. Ground ball to the right side. And that's that. The Braves leave 2. And at the end of 7 1/2, he's got 3 outs to go. Mets 11 and the Braves nothing. In Gary Carter's mind and heart for a while. I'm sure it would stay with you or with me. Music in the world, applause. There's no score for it. And when it ends, it drifts away on the wind. But if you try hard enough after a night like tonight, it's got to stay with you. 7 RBIs, including a grand slam home run. Ed Olwine is now pitching, so Gary will be looking at the left-hander. Olwine. It'll be Carter, Wilson, and Foster. Bottom of the 8th inning. 11-0 Mets. In watching the pitchers tonight and realizing that the All-Star game is coming up Tuesday night from Houston, when you talk about pitching in the All-Star game, you have to think about the Polo Grounds and Carl Hubbell striking out Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Al Simmons, and Joe Cronin. I mean, if that isn't the greatest note in all of All-Star history, I don't know what is.
See old Hub all the time in the ballpark in Arizona. He lives in Mesa.
The Mets ought to know Olwine. He was in their minor league system and traded over to the Atlanta system, and Olwine has worked his way up. Ed Olwine. One ball, one strike to Gary. Hit a 3-run home run in the first inning. Hit a grand slam in the second. Came up with runners at first and third in the third and hit one about 400 feet to dead center that Murphy caught. And last time up, grounded into a double play. Names that spark memories. I guess you can't look at it without having the same thought we have. Ed Olwine is from Hyannisport, Massachusetts. Is there any way you can think of Hyannisport without thinking of the Kennedy compound? One ball, 2 strikes. Fouled away. Still 1-2.
Oh. The reason I said, oh, the foul ball went in the stands, and the fan reacted with the beer cup in his hand, and he dropped the beer cup in the lower deck and tried to catch the ball.
Oh, no.
So I hope those shorts are sand-fried.
Imagine a poor guy got wet explaining to his wife, well, now you won't believe it, honey. But this guy...
Yeah, sure.
Sure. 1-2 to Gary. 2-2. Down in the Mets bullpen, Randy Neiman and Doug Sisk. Neiman, a left-hander. There they are. Two balls and 2 strikes to Gary Carter. A shot foul outside of third and down the line. Still 2-2. Cincinnati playing good ball, and Pete Rose optimistic. Just knocked off Montreal, so the Mets are going to be 11.5 in front of Montreal. Cincinnati, remember, with more games at home than anybody else, and Rose thinks that they're on a move. Well, Houston is losing. The Reds could be 5.5 back as Carter strikes out and gets his last hurrah for the night. Coming up, finishing up for Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry, hit by a pitch, went 0 for 3. 1-0. Well, I guess as soon as Al Monchak and Bob Skinner on the right, the Braves and Mets saw the 4 umpires, they had to think of that monster game on July 4th of '85. Base hit to center for Mookie. That was the game that went 19 innings. From the time it started with an hour and some odd rain delay, it really took 8 hours and 15 minutes to finish that game. So the game ended at 3:55 a.m. on July the 5th. But the problem was the Braves had guaranteed the crowd that they would have a fireworks show after the game. And so at 4 o'clock in the morning on July 5th, they had their fireworks show, scaring half the people in the neighborhood to death. So we should have known something would happen when these two get together again. We had fireworks in the first inning when the bench is empty. But it is 11-0 Mets all the way in the 8th. That was one of the great lines uttered by Terry Tata, who is the third base umpire tonight. Darryl Strawberry was the hitter, and Tata said strike, and Strawberry said that was outside, and Terry said it's 3 a.m. That is a strike at 3 a.m. What a way to go, Terry. 0-2 to George Foster with Ray Knight on deck. Down in the Mets bullpen, they've changed. Neiman and Sisk sit down, and McDowell and Bereni get up. Looking for number 100 in the pinstripes. Paper airplane came out. That's why George backed off. Fly on the left side. Ted Simmons looks over at Andres Thomas. We were talking about the All-Star game and Carl Hubbell's great moment. Here's the National League All-Star team. Fernandez, Sandberg, Schmidt, and Smith. Carter behind the plate, Strawberry, Murphy, and Gwynn. For the American League, the rookie, Wally Joyner, with Lou Whitaker, Wade Boggs, Cal Ripken, Lance Parrish, the catcher, Ricky Henderson, Dave Winfield, and Kirby Puckett. And, of course, great interest, the irony of Dave Winfield, who right now is not allowed to play every day for the Yankees. He'll be the all-star outfielder for the American League.
I wish they'd expand the roster. I mean, Reggie Jackson should be there. Stars should always be there.
Whitey Herzog makes some great points, and I understand he has taken it up with the commissioner, and I hope they follow through with it. Whitey's points, expand the roster, give him 12 pitchers. So each all-star pitcher can work an inning, and then you save 3 in case of extra inning. Use the designated hitters so that the crowd can see all these great hitters. And then Whitey's third suggestion, play the game on Monday night so the players can have 2 nights at home before the second half of the season begins. And they're all valid points.
They really are. I mean, this thing about one league winning more than the other shows superiority is such a joke. I mean, it's an exhibition game where you see the best from both leagues.
Right. 2-1. Check swing. Won't cost a strike anyway. 2-2.
One more added thought. I'm for the fans continuing to vote.
And how? That's why I was called once, what was your choice for an all-star game? I said, doesn't make any difference. I'm not going to give it to you. It doesn't mean anything. This is the fans' game. Ed Olwine, the third Atlanta pitcher. Palmer, McMurtry, and Olwine. In the dirt to the backstop, and Mookie to second on the wild pitch. He will hold there.
You believe these Mets fans? Here it is. Trying to come up with a wave in the 8th inning.
Yeah, when you're leading 11-0, winners tell jokes and losers cry deal. This telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball.
They got it going. It's coming around home plate.
3-2. Fouled away. The Mets scored 3 in the first, 4 in the second, 3 in the third, 1 in the fourth. There is no need for the fat lady to sing. For Sid Fernandez, it's now a question, can he go the distance and pitch a shutout? Ball 4 to Ray Knight.
And I don't care what Yogi said. It is over before it's over.
And how? So Sid Fernandez will have to go in the on-deck circle as Kevin Mitchell comes up to hit. Now, Sid has a single and 2 doubles tonight. Yeah, I remember a T-shirt that said, it's not over till it's over. And then on the back of the shirt, it said, it's over. This is the back of the shirt to you. You can look at the scores. There are a bunch of them. The Angels have a 2.5-game lead in the American League West, with Texas losing to Cleveland if it stays that way. Kirk McCaskill shut out Boston. And with Texas a final, 2.5 for California. Over in the National League, the Mets are going to pick up a game on Montreal. And the Western Division gets wilder because Houston lost, San Diego is winning, Cincinnati won. It'll be West versus West from the end of July for about 2.5 weeks in August. And then from the 8th of September to the last day of the season, it will be within the Western Division. And that's really going to be a wild finish in the National League West. Fouled away. That's one reason why San Diego went out and got veteran pitchers, Ed Whitson and Dave LaPointe. It's one reason why the Giants gambled with Steve Carlton. It's a reason why Atlanta went out and got Doyle Alexander and Jim Acker. But you wonder about Houston. Will they try and get a veteran pitcher? 1-2 to Kevin Mitchell. It is 11-0 Mets on this Friday night visit from Shea. Orozco is now throwing alone in the Mets pen. Braves are a pretty good hitting ball club. They get 1 run against Ojeda last night and nothing tonight.
The graphic we showed about the possible 4 20-game winners. We're liable to see history made here in Shea.
2-2. All 3, so the runners go on this one. Wilson ready to go from second. Knight crank up at first. Full count and 2 down. When the Braves bat in the 9th inning, Chambliss, Harper, and Ramirez. Runners go. Got him. So Mitchell goes down swinging. The Mets leave 2. And Sid Fernandez prepares to go to the mound and see for the first time in his career if he can go all the way with a shutout.